Or welcome to The Wise Guys, a podcast where we unleash the unthinkable, see things differently, and shatter the norms to help you expand your worldview.
I was waiting for it.
We didn't do that before, did we? There it is, some shattering. Welcome. I'm Mac, your host, and of course, with me are my wise guys. Such a privilege. I got the Rev today.
Good to see you, Mac.
All right,
So glad
brother.
to be back home.
Here we are, it's Coach Stu.
Yeah, hey guys.
He's in the house.
Coach is in the house.
Good to see you all.
Man, absolutely.
Have you all been exercising?
Exercising.
Your minds. You thought I was going to say your body, didn't you?
Yes, exactly. In my mind.
Just as
Okay.
important,
I love
sometimes
it.
more.
True. That's true. Welcome, guys. Here. We're going to have fun tonight. This is going to be great.
I've been exercising my opinion. I don't. That counts.
that counts.
It may not be as winsome, but that's okay. Here we are on a journey tonight that I think it's going to be really interesting. We're going to open the box of religious chocolates. Little Forrest Gump kind of analogy.
You never know what you're going to get.
Every
pretty much
candy in the box is sweet.
This
but
is true.
We have preferences.
There it is. Everybody's
That's
got
pretty
their own.
much the Wise Guys podcast every week. You never what you're going to get.
Oh, I got the coconut one again.
Well, what I used to do when I was a kid, I just push on them and figure out which one I
Oh,
wanted.
you were that
You're
guy.
the one who did that.
Of
Oh, my
course,
gosh.
of course. So yeah, we're going to open up the box. In this
All these
episode.
chocolates taste like Larry's finger.
Yeah, it's the one that you have a little bite out of. That's the one you got to really worry about. Here we are in this episode. It's going to be kind of fun, but it's also going to be a little deep. It's going to be, I don't know. I think it's going to be enlightening. I guess that's the best word I can use. I hope it's going to be enlightening for you to give you, again, some thoughts maybe that you hadn't thought about and some encouragement maybe that you haven't ever gotten before.
That really is our hope, and I really want to stress that tonight.
Yeah.
We throw ideas out that might bump up against your ideas, but it's if we can sit in the container of just playing with ideas, something beautiful can happen for all of us.
Yes, it happens for us. I think that's for sure.
Oh, all the time.
Hopefully, it's going to happen for you out there, and that's a joy, yeah, without a doubt. We'll shake you up a little bit. We always say this: strap in,
Strap in.
strap in. But in this episode, we're going to have a conversation about shifts in religious affiliation. Now, relax. We're not going to advocate for these guys are shifting. Oh, Lord. You know what? I'm going to have a tough time keeping up with them
Shift
tonight.
happens. It's okay.
Shift happens. Religious affiliation shifts happen all the time. Not necessarily with you maybe in particular, but they're commonplace across the spectrum. And we're going to ask a few questions about that. And even if this isn't you, even if like I'm not going through a shift that as you explain it, and everything's pretty good as far as I'm concerned with my spirituality, with my religiosity. And we're going to say, guess what? Good.
Great. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's great.
Good for you.
Absolutely. You might have somebody though in your field, in your family, in your community this would apply to.
Right.
Maybe this podcast can give you a little bit different perspective on how to support them,
Absolutely.
how to love them, how to be present with them.
Correct. And that's a big encouragement. And don't ever take off the table the possibility that as your life, as your spiritual journey, your religious journey changes in whatever way, maybe we're just going to give you some stuff you put in the back of your mind, or you have it in your back pocket for one day you might need it. One day you might need to recall and go, I had a little nugget, and you know what? It's helping me navigate this time in my life a little bit better.
Yeah.
I used to say I'm a recovering Methodist, and I don't do that anymore because I realized that my Methodism, my upbringing in that Christian religion is essential to my beliefs today.
Correct.
It's foundational.
Yeah, it builds upon itself so we don't reject. This isn't about rejecting any place you've come from or that we've come from. It's a building upon, and it's an appreciation of, right?
Same thing with my Catholicism. And
Yeah.
it helps me to connect with with people who are currently practicing Catholicism.
Sure.
Because I've been there.
Absolutely.
I understand it.
There it
and
is.
so I can, that's
the
what I look
t-shirt,
for,
huh?
ways to connect. Yeah.
You got the t-shirt.
Yeah.
Bridge
Sure.
builder mentality, not a wall maker, but a bridge
Right.
builder.
That's what this is good for, is giving us an understanding. Even if, as Max said, you're not intending on changing anything, that's okay. It'll help you to relate to others in your life. And I guarantee you there are people
There.
that are around you that are going through this.
Sure.
And are having these thoughts.
We like to say in our church, we come here to get our questions answered, but we also come to get our answers questioned.
We had that last
And
week.
I
That was
think
one of
that
our
is
themes.
really important.
There it is.
For sure.
Be comfortable. We want to give you a sense of comfort. We want to encourage you. We want to give you some perspective, maybe that you haven't had before as we've gone through our journeys, or that we've experienced other people that have gone through shifts like we're going to talk about in different ways. Keep an open mind to all this. We really hope that you're going to be able to have some nuggets, but we're going to talk about changes in affiliations. What causes them? Why are some more popular than others? What are people looking for that they don't already have? I mean, what's stimulating this? The Rev calls it the holy discontent, or what were you?
Divine discontent.
Divine
Something's
discontent.
just not fitting like it used to.
It just, for whatever reason, it just isn't getting it anymore. And what do you do with that? Or what do you help somebody else do with that when it happens in their life? Are there certain factors that cause it more likely than others? What might be the consequences? And believe me, I can say this. When I say consequences, when I made some shifts in this department, if you can call it that, all right? When I made some shifts, there were consequences to that, relational consequences, internal consequences. There was struggle, there was fear, there was an unknown out there that at times I was embracing it on one hand, and yet there were those other weaker times when I was just huddling in the corner a little bit. You know?
And as you're going through that wrestling match, there are people in your life that are watching you go through it that are having the same wrestling.
Yeah.
Oh, where's Larry going? Where's Mac headed right now? I don't know.
Well, I can attest to that without a doubt.
As you're
So,
leaving your own comfort zone, you're also
Yeah.
leaving everybody in your life's comfort zone as well.
Yes, and this is a big deal, gang. I mean,
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
Life's comfort zone as well.
yes, and this is a big deal, gang. I mean, if you've experienced it, you know exactly what we're talking about already. If you haven't, be aware that there are those, like Stu was saying, there's people around you that are going through it, and you may not have your antennas up enough, or you may not have created the safe space for them to be able to come to you or let you observe and let you want to assist them or encourage them. And our challenge to you is shift that.
I always like to ask myself, as a minister, just as a friend, as a family member, am I an open or a closed system? When divine discontent hits, either within me or somebody I love and appreciate, am I an open system to explore that, or do I close it down immediately? And that's where it gets uncomfortable, because some people who are closed cannot and will not support you. I want to find the people that are open to let's talk, let's converse, and let's share ideas, and maybe something great will come from that.
Sure. Well, I totally
That's
agree.
why conversations like this are important. What do I say all the time? You got to practice these things, right? And listening to this conversation, engaging in it with other people helps you to have that poker face, let's call it, because there's an energy. Like if I say something to you that catches you off guard, or maybe you're like, wow, like what? Where is he going with this? If you know,
happens to me all the time.
Energetically, like you could shut me down.
Yep.
Yeah.
But not even intending, by not even
Exactly.
saying a word. I tell people this all the time. I tell my wrestlers this all the time, man. Don't show that other guy, how you're feeling or what's going on. Like, let's go out there. That's in a sport, but
Right.
it's the same thing in life, having conversations, right?
Yeah.
Like, show them what you want to show them is like, hey, I'm here, I'm listening, I'm with you.
Right.
I don't have to, and this is for you in your mind. I don't have to agree.
Yeah. Nor
with
do
you,
I have
or
to
you-
have all the answers.
But you
Right.
have to hold a consciousness, and we didn't do it today, that we're all exotic cocktails.
Yeah, we are.
I missed it this evening.
Let me say hello to all you beautiful exotic cocktails out
reality is
there.
that
I was
mindset-
getting there.
Were you going to get there? We were long into this.
No, I think what was happening was, especially for our regular listeners out there,
Yeah.
they were going, "Hi, Coach Stu.
Yeah.
I'm out here. Oh,
Yeah.
you didn't even say anything. That's okay. I'm here." All right,
I sent it energetically to everybody. They all got it out there in the ethosphere.
Well, shifts, religiosity and shifts in that kind of realm, it can be a rough topic sometimes. It can be a closed topic sometimes. At the same time, we want to offer some words to the wise about this. And I am going to throw my wise guys a curveball,
Uh-oh. You got a new one?
because as we're talking about religion and spirituality and all of these kinds of things, this is some of the best advice
The Rev is up to bat. Come
that
on.
I've ever heard.
Throw me your curveball.
Here we go.
Maybe you've heard somebody say, "Well, I'm just not into spiritual things." Are you a human being? Yeah, too late. The issue is not whether you're a spiritual being or you have a spirituality. The issue is whether your eyes are open and you're aware of it. You cannot deny what is central to your makeup as a human being.
Who was that, Stu?
That was Rob Bell, wasn't it? Was that from
Rob
Everything is Spiritual?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That was good.
Rob Bell did a series, and he went around the country giving this, called Everything Was Spiritual. But I think it sets a really great stage. It says you can't deny. You just can't deny the being a human being, and basically everything is spiritual. As we're talking through some of these different things, these denominations or ways to look at God or practices, and we're not going to get deep into all that. We're going to talk a little bit about why people shift on those things. Understand that there's a universality here, that it's all. It doesn't matter whether you're over here or you're over there or in this camp or in that camp. It's all common.
Who's the singer? There's a singer who sings a song, "Everything is Holy Now." Do you guys know that song?
No.
Look it up. Everything is holy now. I was taught a certain way in Sunday school, but now I've expanded and it's all holy.
That's exactly yours. You put all of these categories into it's all spiritual. Instead of trying to do separations here, let's try to find the commonalities and the goodness. And maybe that'll help frame it a little bit better. But he's a pretty wise guy as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, he is.
Okay, he's one of my favorites. But here's the thing: when shifts like this start to happen and the discontent starts to come, and we're not trying to imply that it has to come, because again, everybody has their own journey. Everybody has their own way of going about it. But as you, and we're going to speak directly to you, as you might have some of these shifts start to happen, you've got some choices to make, or you will make some choices. Right? And there's a progression sort of, as I listed it out, but you can stay, and this was a good point that the guys made in our pre-show. If you start to feel this discontent, it doesn't mean you have to go and do something somewhere else differently. It can possibly mean that wherever you were in that denomination, in that religion, in that faith environment, it's just time for me to fine-tune it a little bit. It's time for me to go deeper. It's time for me to explore, but I'm still okay, with where I'm at.
Well, there's a third component to that. There's, hey, I'm going to go explore in a different environment, a different belief system. I'm going to explore within the current container I'm in and look at it differently. Then I'm going to explore me differently. We were talking about, you read a book 10 years ago, and then you come back and read the same book, and something else stands out to you. You are exploring yourself as different in the context of the same container.
Yeah, that's a good point, because you're different.
Right.
Especially from 10 years ago. But I mean, from moment to moment is my belief. You're different, right?
Yeah. Yes, we're different. Things evolve constantly, just at different rates, at different times, in different ways. But in general, you'll have some choices to make as this starts to.
That's what consciousness demands, is you're making choices. I'm aware. I get to make a conscious choice based on my soul's desire.
There it is. It lands the plane back with you. you have some choices. And it might be just you want to switch a church. You're in this particular church and it just doesn't work anymore. Now you don't feel that your spirituality can be grown. Your relationships aren't what you would like for them to be. Don't like the music, don't like the preaching. I mean, whatever it is.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
Don't like the music, don't like the preaching. I mean, whatever it is, all right?
I've done this.
Yeah.
Raising my hand.
Well, I mean,
More than once.
Well,
In my life.
This is not uncommon, but it's
Go
a
ahead and switch
shift.
churches. Just don't switch podcasts.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Get some more people.
I actually tell members of my congregation, and I had to overcome fear. If this isn't working for you right now, let me help you.
Yeah.
Assist you in finding an environment that might work better.
I love that, man. That's loving. I don't know what else you call that.
Absolutely.
Right?
I had
That's
two
loving.
people recently that found Christ and got baptized. And one of them wants to say that unity was wrong. The other is like, thank God for unity. Unity led me here to this moment. And
Yeah,
that makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I can be a building block. I don't have to be afraid that you've gone a different direction. You've taken what I've offered and you've embraced your life in such a way that it's expanded.
Absolutely. And that ought to be all of our satisfaction and desire for others, that come into contact
And
with us.
I'll be honest, we are also the landing pad for people who have been baptized and then outgrew where they were.
Yeah.
And they come to us and go, this is a different way to look at my relationship to the Christ.
Well, that's what this whole episode is about. That where do you find new space as you change? And it might just be, I'm going to change my church. I haven't changed my religiosity. I haven't changed my theology. I haven't changed none of that. I
Right.
just need a different environment. All right. Then there might
They've
be
got better food down the street.
yeah, they do the Thanksgiving better, right? Then you might have just, you know what? There's certain things about this particular denomination that I'm in that theologically or their practice, their rituals, whatever that might be. Again, there's this discontent. There's this holy discontent shift that's going on that just doesn't work anymore. And now I'm going to go seek spiritually a different, type of environment. Now where we're talking a little differently, we're looking at God maybe a little differently from a different perspective. We're practicing that in different ways. And that's the way you, at this point in time, satisfy that discontent.
Right.
The way I do this in my own life and the way I counsel congregants who might, be feeling this divine discontent is don't run from something, run to something. And that mindset, that switch in your head makes all the difference. We're not running something away from something that's bad.
Right,
We're
right.
running to something that's more maybe in alignment where I am today.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. We were talking about that in the pre-show, man.
Yeah,
That's
I love
awesome.
that. And
Yeah.
I the way I hear this in my head is there's something in my life or in my spirituality maybe it served me for a long time and no longer serves me. Thank you.
You're right.
Appreciate you getting me where I am, and now I'm gonna move on from here. I may not even know what that is or what that looks like, but I'm always coming from gratitude. Like let me thank it because it was there for a reason, and
That's
it got
right.
me to where I am.
I've always felt that when you talk about your Catholic upbringing.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
always been gratitude.
Yeah. Well, and then you're listening to the transmissions during your transitions.
That's right.
As we talked
another
about last week.
another meme from Mac Nugget from last week.
Anyway, that we've gone, maybe just switch churches. Maybe then you might need to switch denominations because that's a better resonation.
I've done both of those things.
All right.
Just-
And then then comes a bigger shift, right? Yes,
what's
you have.
that?
The bigger shift might be that maybe, just maybe, that particular religion. And boy, that's a pretty broad brushstroke right there.
Yeah.
Because if you say, I'm a Catholic, I'm a Protestant, I'm a Christian, oh my goodness, we're talking all kinds of different variations of the above. But you would know in your heart and in that movement in you whether there's really a strong desire and need to say, well, I'm no longer going to practice looking at God that way. that doesn't work. And the way that whole thing is structured, that isn't resonating anymore. I need to go over here and commune with others from a different perspective. And now I think I can drive my spirituality deeper and fulfill that whole process. That's a biggie. That's a big shift, without a doubt. But again, some people need to do that because that's just where they're at. And how do you see? The other two are easier. You get some friends, you get some family members. They just want to go from this church over here to this church.
Right.
Nobody's saying anything about that. That's no big deal.
Right.
And even if they switch denominations, they go from this one to that one. And again, it's all pretty much part of the same tribe. All right. But boy, you make this shift, all right, away from what I've experienced as we've done some stuff with Muslim, folks coming from Islam, looking into Christianity, and that's a big dang deal, man. Let me tell you.
We've had conversations with those people and helping them,
Richard
explore
has.
their faith with. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know the Rev has done this too, but helping them explore their spirituality and that. Wow, I'm so glad we had those experiences to see.
And what kind of guts and courage does it take for somebody to break free of sometimes family bonds? You're being judged and criticized for this leap.
Right.
Okay. Again, how
happens.
do you navigate that, and how do you help others navigate that now? That becomes a big
Let me point something out, because when that's a huge change.
Oh, sure.
But here's the thing. It's not that to me you've seen or heard or experienced something over there that you're interested in. Right? It's not like I grew up as a Catholic. It's not like, okay, I'm done with being Catholic. Let me just go check something else out. It wasn't like that.
Right.
It was more like, hey, what is that over there? Let me go, have some experience and see what that's all about. Well, I think, like, to me, I think if this is happening for you out there, it may be because maybe you have a friend, maybe you had an experience with another type of faith or religion that spoke to you.
Correct.
And and I just want to tell people, if that happens, it's okay to explore it.
I like to say that, and it gets me in trouble sometimes, a religion that does not encourage curiosity is a religion that is entrenched in fear.
Yeah.
Curiosity should be a part of your spiritual practice.
Right. Absolutely. And here's the thing.
Yeah.
It could be the thing that strengthens your current belief system.
Absolutely.
Sure.
You might have some different perspectives. That's okay.
Sure.
But you may be even stronger. And here's the thing. And you know why.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
And here's the thing. And you know why. Right?
Yeah, you bought it.
Now you know why I know why I've been believing this all my life. Now I'm really strong in it. To me, because of that, there's no fear in that. It's just like I'm willing to go explore and see what it all means, and I end up where I end up.
I did a little exploration at one point in my life of the Mormon Church, because I find the family values there. Some of my closest friends were, wow, they're so close, they're so kind, they're loving, and I went to explore. And I found a really wonderful family unit. I also found a theology I could not buy into myself, but I took something from that year with the Mormon Church that I took back to me to my Christian faith, my pagan faith, my Taoist faith. It added to. And I didn't have to agree with everything they were teaching, but the exploration and the curiosity gave me a deeper sense of the importance of family and community.
Well, let's do the same. Give thanks for it, right?
Right.
And then the last part of this journey, per se, these things aren't etched in stone, would be that religion just doesn't cut it for me anymore at all. I can't land the plane on anything, and I'm just checking out when it comes to all that. Now, that doesn't mean that you've checked out on any kind of spirituality or spiritual growth. It's just that you're going to need to pursue it, at least at that time, or maybe for the rest of your life, depending on what happens, in an environment outside of a structured religious environment that has, again, rituals, and it has ways that they do it and ways that they think about it. And if that's your path, then that may be.
I have a lot of friends who've gone this path. They left sometimes 50 years of a religious study and they go, I'm going to go find God in nature. And they find God as much in nature as they did for 50 years in a church.
Right.
Or science. I know a lot of people that got into science and actually used that as the portal to find God and a spirituality. That doesn't make sense to the Methodist mind that I grew up in, but I've watched it happen. And they've become just more Christ-like people through science, more Christ-like people through being a tree hugger.
Yeah. Well, I can remember when I read Lynn Taggart's The Field, and it started all this quantum mechanics stuff and the cellular and all that, the field and all the different. And when I read that book, I came away from it, science, and I said, isn't God cool? Isn't God just so far beyond what I ever even imagined at this point? And I still haven't got it, all right? I think, they're not mutually exclusive by any means, all right? Although I will say this, that if that's your path, just like all these other paths, find the people that resonate in the same way that you do. Because again, I don't think anything out there is meant to be done individualistically, solely on your own, all by yourself. It's way better and usually to do it together with others that can stimulate you, that can encourage you, that are thinking along the same lines that you are, and you guys can develop this. So anyway, that's kind of, there's maybe a typical, hierarchy there of your journey might be. But a couple of questions that come up in that is to figure out, well, do I need to do this one, or does it require me to go all the way here? Or, what would it take? A couple of questions to ask. Can you cherry pick? Can you cherry pick a little bit from whatever orthodox, and I'm using that to mean the tenets that particular religion, denomination, faith practice holds dear, I mean, there are certain things that are stakes in the ground. There are certain things that are, I can live with that, but it's okay if you don't, that kind of thing. And then it's sort of the generalized thing that says, well, it's floating around out there. That particular thing is really no big deal whether you're over here or you're over there.
I personally find my fruit salads much more interesting if it's not all cantaloupe. And I like my spirituality that way as well. There's good to be found everywhere. And this idea of, isn't God amazing? And it's so much more than I thought. I find that in every one of the religions that I have explored, and I bring them together in a fruit salad that is richer, more beautiful to me. It doesn't make the person who just wants to have all cantaloupe wrong or bad for me. And a cherry pick is kind of a negative term.
Yeah.
I don't look at it that way. I find it as expanding my mind, my heart, and my spirit to see the richness that is everywhere.
I'll go with that.
Yeah,
that's a
for
good
sure.
perspective, no doubt.
Yeah, before we started in our pre-show, I drew a Venn diagram, right? And it just kind of representing, like, each circle representing maybe different religions and where they cross. You know how that works, right?
Yep.
The center, there's commonality, right? So I think you're gonna find that with a lot of these religions, a lot of these faith journeys you might have. Mm-hmm. There's going to be some similarities out there. It doesn't mean, obviously, in that one you don't agree with everything, but here's the commonality.
Here's the overlap.
Here's the overlap.
Yeah.
And that brings us all together.
Right. Well, I think our journeys, at least around this table, there's a commonality there that says we've been able over time, each in our own way, each in our different paths, to be able to look at this whole picture, this whole deal. Man, God, faith, religion, practice, ritual, belief systems as way more universal and holistic, and the Venn diagram's got a pretty big middle there, as opposed to it being just a tiny little thing.
We're way more alike than we are different.
Yeah, right. There you go. That's a good way to explain it as well. You had it better than what I was just saying. There you are. And then what goes along with that sort of question is there enough bandwidth at where you are and what you're doing to be able to allow you this fluctuation that you're going through? That you don't get too far off of the reservation or something like that. How strict, and how Rev was talking about, maybe the Mormon church has got a little bit more focused, more rigid way to practice their faith. And there's others as well that are similar, right? that just don't allow for any bandwidth. I mean, virtually, as opposed to another environment that just might say, well, we're okay with that if that's your path. No
See,
problem.
I want to be a loving spiritual environment. When you're exploring, and I'm uncomfortable with where you're exploring, that I can come from love and not judgment or condemnation about where you're coming from. I find that love is much more.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
I find that love is much more able to bring somebody back maybe closer to where I'm thinking. We meet that little Venn diagram, that middle is love. And that speaks volumes about whatever path I happen to be following, if I can come from love and not judgment and condemnation.
Right. Well, typically, yes. If that's the filter, if that's the driving force, then your heart's in the right place. You're still going to fall forward. Try to do it gracefully as much as you can.
You might fall. In your exploration, you might fall. I'm going to be there to catch you.
Yeah. There. Yeah. Thank you.
Whether you're falling forward or falling back, I will be there to catch you, and I hope that you'll be there to catch me.
Absolutely. That's our Tribe of Five thing right there. And we'll run through a quick little list of an example. So you're a Muslim, you may be a Buddhist, you may be a Baha'i, you may be a Jew, you may be a Christian. But each one has sort of their own, again, the bandwidth. What if you believed this but didn't believe that, right? I'm going to run through a quick little list as an example of how you might want to look at this from a Christian perspective, at least from my Christian perspective. Well, it's not the only one by any means. But how you look, if you consider yourself a Christian and you're in a denomination, and you're in a church, and you're doing your thing, it's all good. If you began to have a discontent about any of these things, how would that go? How would that look? What would the reaction be? How about things about heaven and hell? How about things about the Holy Spirit, devil, angels? How about the concept of original sin? We're all sinners. How about the prosperity gospel, that God is prospering you in certain ways? How about resurrection as an actual event as opposed to a metaphorical event? And then the last thing, of course, this is a biggie, that's the significance of the Bible. How do you look at the Bible and how do you hold it? And I don't mean hold it in your hands. I mean, do you have it is high on your list that it provides all the truth for you? And
You
that's
guys have quoted a pastor in our pre-show a couple of times, a local pastor who said, you don't have to believe anything in the Bible to be a Christian or to follow Jesus.
Follow Jesus, yeah.
I mean,
that'll rock some worlds, my friends.
yes,
Yep.
sure, all right. But again, these are questions just to ask yourself. We're not going to go into them. We're not going to dive deep into them here. These are just questions that I know I've had to ask myself as I've gone on my journey. And some of these things I had to leave behind. Some of them I'm fine with, right? And you've got your own list. You've got the things for you that, again, are stakes in the ground for you, that are truth, that can't be changed or moved, and there you go. I mean, we're certainly not here to say
And
that
I will
that's
honor
right.
and respect that conviction.
Yeah.
If you've really spent time in contemplation that said this is a stake in the ground, good on you.
Right, right. So this is kind of an intro, and we're giving you, maybe we're rocking your world a little bit on this whole thing, but again, hopefully we're just opening up your mind a little bit here to think a little differently, both for yourself and for others that may be going through this journey and you're not. And again, that's okay, but everybody can fit somewhere in this scenario, helping others or you going through it yourself, right? That's been just some awesome stuff. I'll tell you what, guys, you know what? This is just packed full of juicy nuggets, right? I feel like I'm just picking the fruit off the tree right now and just enjoying so much this conversation between us.
And pick the cantaloupes and the strawberries and
That's right.
the watermelon.
Don't forget the pineapple. Got to have that in there.
We get the fruit salad. In order to give you the whole fruit salad, all right, I think what we're going to do is we're going to do part 2 next week. All right, we're going to take and we're going to give you a little synopsis. If somebody comes in next week, you encourage them to listen to us. Definitely listen to this episode. They'll have some background for the next episode. But we're going to then take the next steps and sort of give some examples specifically about how people and why they shift in these ways. What prompts them? What motivates them? How do they look at it? What are some of the pitfalls that might happen in these shifts? And again, it's an awareness level as you deal with others, as well as you have to recognize these shifts in yourself. Mm-hmm. It'll be beautiful. It'll be a lot of fun. I don't know. It might rock a little bit of your boat, but again, I think it's a lot of enlightening. I'll use that word, information and encouragement.
Y'all come back. We're going to leave the light on for you.
Yeah, for sure. And again, just as a reminder, if this isn't something that's happening for you, there's somebody in your life that's going through this, and this is going to help you to connect with them better, and you'll be able to be there with them, encouraging them or supporting them however they need to be supported.
Exactly.
Right?
A couple of examples that we'll give next week have to do with some Gen Z data, but you can put anybody in that category that you want.
Do I know any Gen Z people? I think I know quite a few.
I think
you're closer to their age than we are.
I wasn't thinking that, but
not much.
I have a daughter that's a Gen Zer.
Anyway, there's different shifts that are going on even today as we speak, and we'll speak to some of those next week to give you some context and to give you some actual realistic examples that are on the ground instead of theoretical type stuff.
I'm excited about what you've got.
Yeah, there's some good stuff here. I think it's enlightening.
It's going to be a great conversation.
It really is. Thanks again. Thanks for listening. We really do want you to come back for the next episode next week. We'll pick up on this, go further down maybe the rabbit hole if we need to. Yeah, we won't crash and burn, I promise.
It's the red specialty.
yeah. So have a great week. Ponder some of this stuff. Let us know if any of it's affecting you or you can't quite figure it out or you're embracing it and in which ways, because we love for this to be
what I would love is if they went on to the website and put some thoughts that we include in the next episode.
That would be fantastic.
We can quote you. We want to know what you're saying. We'll put it on the podcast.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Get in part of a cafe.
You can go on social too.
Yeah, social too. That's fine. Go on our Wise Guy website.
Get to us.
You can certainly do.
However,
you will get. Yeah, we'll find you. If you find us, we'll make sure we respond. Thanks again. We're gonna from the Wise Guys. As always, thank you, gentlemen.
Oh yeah,
for just being here, for us doing our thing, for how you're loving on everybody, and we will see you again. And have a great, unthinkable conversation.
Yes.
All right. Take care.
Take care.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.